Michelle Gray. How are you doing?
Good morning, Elisa. I'm doing awesome.
And how's my boy Erik? I love you.
He says, I love you, Mom. He's pulling up a chair. He's sitting down with us and pulling up a chair over here to my left-hand side.
Erik, were you able to bring in Gabby Petito?
She's here.
Yeah, apparently, I mean, I'm surprised that Gabby, thank you for coming in. And I'm surprised that you were able to so soon after your transitioning.
She says, she goes, hello, hello. She says, thanks for having me here. And I'll just explain too, because this is kind of an interesting and weird way that it, well, I guess it's not really weird, but a couple weeks ago, this is how Gabby and all of this came about, because we didn't plan on this. We didn't set this up, and this wasn't in our head to do. We, as with all of our interviews, they either have a lot of people that want to hear from them, or it's something that just comes along at the right time. But this one, as we know, the whole world's been well aware of what's been going on. And in the back of my head, I thought maybe at some point that Gabby would come in, but I never really thought it would be happening at this point either. So about 2 weeks ago, I was, 2.5 weeks ago, I was sitting with a friend who is also a medium. And on that day, I had no idea about Gabby Petito, about the case or anything that was going on. And on that day, this friend of mine says to me, what's really weird? Shanann Watts popped in my head. It popped in my head, and I thought that's really strange too, because she was popping in my head too, which is another case and another one that we covered with a very tragic story a couple of years ago. Anyway, we didn't think much of it, and it was later that day that I saw Gabby Petito's case that kind of started to come across YouTube and things. So we'll fast forward a few days. That following Saturday, I was getting ready for a healing session, and I usually listen to my YouTube playlist and stuff while I'm getting ready. And I heard something came on, and there was somebody talking about her case and about them searching and everything. And I had felt that she had passed. I had felt it. So I wasn't connecting with her at this point. I just felt it. And I stopped for a second, and I asked Erik, and I said, Erik, I'm like, is she crossed? Do you know where she is? And in that very second, the strongest, and I've said this before to many people, that I feel the energy first.
Yeah.
So I don't see them first. I feel it. And then the details start to come in from there. Well, her energy came right up to the right-hand side of me, and my ears were cupped. It was just like how I hear angels. It was that high-pitched ring, and her energy was right up here. And I heard, here I am. Right there. And that was the only connection I had with her that day. There was no conversation. There was nothing that took place, but I knew. And it was the next morning that they announced that they had found her body. And so I just, kind of made note of that, and like everybody else followed along with everything. And it was the night after our radio show that Tuesday. And we had gotten off the radio show, and I was just kind of cleaning things up, and I could feel Erik lingering. Sometimes he'll linger around and say a few things to me about what's happened during the show or something.
Yeah.
And I kept getting Gabby Petito's energy, but it wasn't like her standing there. It was just like her name, and just, feeling her. And I said, okay, I know what's going on. I said, okay, Erik, you know the deal. You know how we do this. I said, if this is right for us to have a connection with her or to interview her, I said, you know what to do. You arrange it. You go and speak to whoever you need to speak to. I'm not going looking for it. I said, it's got to come back to me, and then I'll do it.
Yeah.
And the next morning I woke up, the Wednesday morning, and Paula, so she's in Italy and she's 6 hours ahead of us. And she had already messaged me 6 o'clock in the morning. I look at my WhatsApp, and she's like, hey, Michelle, she goes, I don't know what you're thinking about this, but I have this really strong urge that we need to contact Gabby Petito. I wanted to know if you'd had any contact with her or what do you think about that. And I'm like,
Amazing.
okay, that's and that's how a lot of them happen. Like with Shanann Watts, that's exactly how that happened with that too. It's just, so I was feeling those similarities.
Yeah.
And so it was that day that I sat down and I had Erik help me call her energy. And so I've had a little bits of communication with her. Um, Maybe not quite like today. I can feel her very strong being
Yeah.
here today with us. And she's a ray of sunshine, just an
Wow.
absolute ray of sunshine. And she's gonna give us and this is the thing too, is she did make it clear that she's here to bring in love and spirit, and that's the direction that she wants to go today. She was very clear about that. And when I asked her why, because I thought maybe, like, I asked her, have you crossed, like, and she has. um but she said that there's a lot that's going on, that there's multiple reasons why speaking of certain things right now won't be helpful for anybody, is how she said it.
Yeah.
um but she says there's lots that we can talk about, and she may join us again at some point too.
Okay.
So, but anyway, so that's the story of how we got here.
Okay. What do you mean she may join us again? Can we bring
she's
her
saying
in?
she's saying like, after today there may be more
Oh,
questions down the road, because she says,
oh, I got you. I
she says,
got you.
I'll come again if you'd like me to.
All right. Well, let me share with y'all what Paula said. Uh, she said, I'm not going to collect questions for this one, as people will ask for many details that Gabby said might disrupt the ongoing investigation. So that's super important. So her suggestions for the session, I would start with Michelle talking about how she was drawn to this case, which we did, how Erik brought Gabby in spirit to her. You know, the narrative behind this intro is to have a more intimate and personal channel. And anyway, there are thousands of people out there who would love to have closure with Gabby, as well as Michelle wanted it, But Michelle has a gift that allows her to have that closure with Gabby. And now Michelle is sharing that closure with the public. Now tell us about your closure. Well, first of all, I'll finish. When Michelle mentions how Gabby was an earth angel, it would be very interesting to know her journey from when in spirit she decided to incarnate in Gabby on earth and what her mission was. It's really interesting because she has that famous photograph of her with the painted wings on a wall or a rock or something, and a little halo. So,
Yeah,
I'm sure that's no coincidence.
no coincidence at all. Absolutely not.
So yeah, Gabby, thank you for coming in. Can you tell us how your journey from incarnation on, even to the point of how you chose your parents as your parents, what your mission was? I mean, what sort of angelic are you? Are you an angelic frequency? And could that be why you were so ready to talk and did not have to have a long time after transitioning before we could interview you? Anything you want to share?
She said yes. Um, she says that you're right on. She said that she's always carried a very high vibe. Um, she's saying that before coming into this lifetime, she says, yes, she goes, I'm known as, what you would call an earth angel. And she's commenting about how there's no coincidences. And she says how we just had that show last night. And she says she was listening to the show.
Oh wow, the
And
Earth Angel show. Wow.
yeah, yeah. And so she's just pointing at the timing and just saying that, there's never wrong timing. It all falls into place. And so she says before coming into this lifetime, and she said she actually has had many lifetimes where she says it's like lending a hand in a lifetime. So where she will play a part in raising the frequency in one way or another. And she says that less human lifetimes for her that are about not that all lifetimes weren't about learning. She says there's always been learning,
Of course.
but it was not as many lifetimes that we're going through the heavy density. She says that she's always been in a higher vibration. She says it's just part of where she's created as a soul.
Oh.
Um, she says that her coming into this life in particular had a lot to do with love. And she says that love, the frequency that she is of purity from, she says we all are. We all are, but she says that she particularly came in here to be able to see love in all things, to be able to see love in people, places, and things, and to be able to persevere with love, to be able to persevere in seeing goodness in people where others may not have seen goodness, to see goodness in places where others may not have seen goodness. And she came here to set that as an example. She says, she's talking about her parents, and she says that her parents, that was also out of love. She says, to have them have love for themselves. She talks about coming into their lives and that creating a sense of direction for them, putting them on a path, and that this particular life was very much about courage. And she says, I was not destined to stay in this lifetime for what we humanly would think of as a long time.
Oh.
She says that her choices, and she says planning in this lifetime, was to exit. And she's showing me in her 20s. She actually says that a little bit later on. So she says 22.
Yeah.
She's calling it an angelic exit, although she's completely aware of saying that in the way that we all understand things have taken place is hard to see it in that way. But she said that having her life taken in the way that it was not a set in stone thing. And she says to understand that not all crossings are, not all passings are, that a lot of times that we have, and she says, as she has, we have an idea that we've come here to present certain lessons, to create a ripple effect with our vibration, to extend that out to the people around us, sometimes into the collective, such as she is doing.
Yeah.
And she says that that was going to happen no matter what. She was already on that road to do that. It was something that she was already successful at doing, and she was going to continue to do that. She says the difference is that with her, she says, end of course, and how things changed with her taking the next stage in the non-physical. She says that part of the arrangement with her parents was that they were always going to display courage. She says not only find courage for themselves, but she talks about them being of a vibration that is connected to raising the vibration in the collective. And she says that there are corners in the world that are unseen that they have the courage to go into and bring up. And they're doing it, she says, humanly in the honor of her, but as human beings that are truly souls that are here to be able to display to other souls that don't seem to have or think they have the courage to pull down deep inside and be able to raise themselves up for good, to be able to show goodness. And she says that this is only the beginning, that her family already feels this, and that they will continue to do this for others.
Do you did you plan this kind of exit point, leaving the time maybe close, but the way you left, was that one of the things you planned so that it would stimulate the display of courage in your parents and the world for that matter?
She says that tragedy, this was not necessarily the choice.
But it was to be a tragedy? Is that what you're saying?
It was to be something to draw mass attention, she said.
Oh, I see. All right. This is not your first incarnation, is it?
No.
Okay. How was your transition? You don't have to tell me how you died. I just want to know, did you go peacefully? I mean, I know people out there want closure.
The very first thing that she shows me is looking at her body. She says, I'll be honest, it was a bit of shock. She says it was a sense of surprise because she knew that she wasn't alive physically.
Yeah.
She said that took her, she's calling it, I wanted to say acceptance, and she says, I'd rather you say surrender, because there was this feeling of wanting to control the situation right away.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like wanting to do something about it, wanting to fix it.
Yeah.
And she says that part of that was being still very connected to the human body.
That Erik went through the same thing, didn't you, Erik?
Yes, he did. He did. And Erik says that that's not uncommon, especially in very like sudden, quick, tragic, highly emotional,
yeah,
in those ways that our human mind's not necessarily prepared or has no chance to prepare. That's not uncommon to experience.
Sure.
And so she's just saying that in the part of her mind that said surrender, she says surrender rather than acceptance.
Okay.
Says in the being able to surrender, she says it was like a painting. The colors that were, say, a bit gray and see-through looking started to have color. Everything started to have color. And she said that she turned around and was able to see like light, a great deal of light. And she says that would be the invitation of angels, the invitation of energy. She does say that she stayed earthbound. She didn't cross right away. She said that there was a sense of sadness with her, but it wasn't so much for herself. It was for her family.
Yeah.
It was for everyone else. She wanted to comfort them. And she says shortly thereafter, she was able to connect with her angels. She calls them her like soul brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And she also says her grandmother.
Okay.
Connecting with her grandmother, and being able to cross her soul, she says.
In Earth time, about how long did it take for you to do that?
She says about 24 hours.
Okay. It sounds like you didn't suffer or have pain. It sounded like it was pretty sudden. Is that true? I mean, that would be lovely to know for the parents.
That is true. She says, however, she's not showing me the actual incident, but she is giving me a sense of shock. And she says, right out of the body.
Okay. Right out, no pain. Good. Well, we're not going to talk about motive death. We're not going to talk about where is Brian on, because that is so part of the ongoing investigation. Maybe we can later, but this is not meant to be a voyeuristic thing, a sensationalistic thing. This is something that will hopefully elevate the vibrational frequency of the collective. So why did you do the whole traveling in your van to different parts of the U.S. And you vlogged about it, correct? Or Instagram or something like that, a social media type thing. Tell me about your choice to do that.
I love that van.
Mm.
I love that van.
Yeah.
She's very sentimental about it. She says that was really special to her, but she says, I'm an adventurer.
Yeah.
I'm an adventurer. She says, free. She says, I'm a free spirit. And she's showing me like the peace sign, like a hippie, and the peace sign. She said that she had a dream, and her choice in wanting to travel, wanting to see beautiful things that not everybody gets to see. She wanted to be able to share that adventure with others. She says that that attracted her, that life attracted her. It felt right to her to be able to connect with nature, to be able to do things that gave her a sense of excitement, but she also liked the peacefulness of it. She said that she was really, really excited and working really, really hard to put something together that was creative, She
Okay.
says that she's an artist, very creative by nature, and so this was like another outlet for her creativity,
Okay.
which gave her a sense of peace, and she says a sense of fulfillment. And she didn't want to do something that kept her inside or kept her at a she says traditional type of job.
Right. Right. No cubicle
She
for you.
No, she said that she had a plan and an idea to put into motion, and so that's exactly what she was doing.
How did you meet Brian? And is there a contract between you guys? Were you twin flames? I mean, tell us a little bit about that relationship, beginning with how did you guys meet?
She's saying like through friends.
Okay.
Um, there must have been a couple. I don't know if it was through school or through. They may not have been at the same school, but like through friends
Okay.
that knew each other. She says that she's calling him very charming.
Yeah.
Um,
So it
different.
said Bundy. I won't
Yeah,
go there. It's okay. Yeah.
different. It was different. She calls him like having dreams, but being like lonely or alone.
Okay.
Having dreams, and she said that part of the contract was also to help him with like his loneliness with relationship, with
Mm,
not being alone, with knowing that there was somebody always there. Like she says, togetherness. That was something that they both shared
yeah.
in their contract together. But she's also saying she says that there was something to do with discipline with him. So it's like he had dreams, he had things that could really be something. And she said that she did things differently than him, like putting things into action. And so part of it was for him and her to be able to put something together. Now she says, beneath it all, there were different ways that this could have come together because she said there was creative effort between the two of them.
Mm.
But she said that there was also, over time, there was toxicity that was created that was part of the adversity to help him work through.
So that was part of the plan
Yes.
to go through. What kind of adversity? I mean, you mentioned in I think the body cam video that you had OCD and that irritated him. Am I wrong or right about that? And can you tell me more?
She says that she was never diagnosed with OCD. She said that she liked things a certain way.
Uh,
Um, she also says that he knew enough about her that there were things that um, made him feel insecure because she said that he had a sense of fear in him. And so he would like covertly push buttons and wind her up. She says, I am no different than anyone who is trying to do something, trying to put something together, and sometimes becoming frustrated because I'm human.
of course.
And she says, he knew the things that made me upset, and some of his insecurities would then start to come out in, she says, like picking at me, doing little things, and then turning it around and saying, you're sensitive, you're
Yeah.
too picky, you're
It's
too
your fault.
clean.
Yeah.
And she says that she believed that. Over time she thought that she was the cause of that, so she would stay quiet or she would keep it quiet and then blow up. and get upset.
Okay.
But she really didn't have OCD.
Is that the main difference between you guys? That was a problem, or a lesson?
She said the core of the two of us, the core is between love and fear. And he was walking from a place inside of fear, and she was walking from a place of love.
Wow. Were you twin flames or soulmates, or how would you describe the relationship?
She says that twin flames would be a better way to describe it, because we were connected to be able to advance us to the next chapter. And so she just says, like, a lot of twin flames, which we can have more than one of, helps us to get to that next stage in our journey. And sometimes that means we work through it, and the next stage is like renewing a new contract with each other. And sometimes that means that we end up pulling apart and we don't continue forward together. She says, unfortunately, she says there was a lot that we weren't able to work through. But she says, like a twin flame relationship, this is still giving him a soul lesson that his soul had desired, and it is still giving her a soul lesson of what she desired.
Okay. Let's get if we can, a description, Gabby, of your personality. And of course, Michelle, you can tell us what you're sensing. Erik, you can tell us. With Gabby, we can start with you.
So the very first thing that Erik says is, he says that if you watch a butterfly move and you see how it flutters, because you see a butterfly in the sun and you admire all of its colors, and you can admire how it moves, and almost it moves so gracefully that it just feels like it's riding the waves, in the air. He says, that's Gabby.
Oh,
that's the way she is. She's like a free butterfly. Nothing tying her down. She rides the waves of the wind. And
fragile like a butterfly too?
What's that?
Fragile like a butterfly as well?
He says yes, fragile like a butterfly, but he also says, like a butterfly, there is a transformation that takes place.
Oh.
And he said that throughout her life, there was transformation that's taken place, and there still is. Because he describes her as having a fighting spirit as well. As having strength, not necessarily as meek and mild as some would think, but knew what to stand up for herself when needed to.
Okay. Michelle, what are you picking up on? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, that's where I was going. She smells really good. It's strange because my nose is plugged. As you can probably hear.
Yeah, you've got a cold. I know.
I do, but I can smell that perfume, Love's Baby Soft. It's like an old perfume when I was a kid, and it's just this really sweet, gentle smell. She's very natural. She's got a very sweet energy, and it's interesting because when she's sitting here, she's got looks like a little black hard-covered book, and she's got a black pen like I use, and drawing, like sketching and drawing, and very free and artistic and deep, deeply sensitive and deeply caring. The image that I don't get a full shot of her when I see her, so I'm not seeing her as a full body, but I've seen her profile. I've seen her head. She's shown me rainbows as she's come in this morning. She's showing me right now music notes. She says that she loves music. connected to music.
Okay. Tell us some other things that would describe your gifts and your hobbies and your loves. I mean, could you draw well, dance, sing? Tell us about some of the things that were important in your life, that you were good at, or at least enjoyed.
She's good at everything. She says that she liked the trends. She liked to hop on the trends every now and again.
Okay.
But she really did walk her own beat. She wasn't afraid to like things that were a little bit different than everybody else. She wasn't afraid to be free or to take risks. She loved adventure. She loved music, her family, children, animals.
Mm-hmm.
She says, loves animals. She loved the outdoors, the beach.
Okay, can you describe some of your, I don't want to say flaws, but some things like maybe too trusting, naive? I mean, is there anything that you would share that would be on the opposite polarity as far as emotions are concerned and personality traits?
And she says, I suppose that I suppose I could be known or not known for holding things in.
Okay.
Not saying something that was on my mind. I didn't want to hurt people's feelings. Sometimes I didn't want to cause a problem, so I wouldn't tell the full picture. Like she would protect people and not say things and hold it inside, and that wasn't always the best for her or really for anybody else.
Okay.
She worried. She'd worry, overthink things at times and worry.
About?
Just wanting to do things right. Things that she would put together. She even shows like her website, like working on her website, and just she'd get stressed out because she just wanted things to be right.
Okay.
She wanted to do it right.
Were you spiritually aware while you were on Earth? I mean, were you into spiritual things? And so tell me a little bit about that.
She says she was all about the vibe. She says, my spiritual practice was love.
Okay.
It was love. It was being able to be free, being able to just let things be as they were. Yes, I did believe in more, believed in more than this earth. I felt very connected to that.
Okay.
She says being very spiritual was something that I felt in some of the locations that I'd go in. She goes, you couldn't help but feel it. There'd be such a vibe that you connect to. And she says, she had an awareness of, the body, of energy, yoga, meditation, things like that.
Did you have any gifts, channeling ability to channel or psychic gifts? Or, well, everybody does, but how would you describe yours?
She says that she could sense things. She says that there'd be some things that she'd like have hunches about that she'd know, and like things would be like weird. She'd say she'd just know things, but she doesn't really say too much about. She says not in the way that we're talking right now.
Okay. Tell us about your tattoo. Let It Be. Tell me why you just chose that as a tattoo.
She says she loves the Beatles.
Oh, okay. And that's it?
She likes what it represents.
Yeah.
She says that the words had meaning to her at different points in her life. That was something that would.
Because you had a hard time at times letting it be, or is it because you innately were able to let it be?
Both.
Your life. Okay.
Both, different perspective when she would look at it, depending on what was going on.
Okay. Now, why have there been so many mysterious deaths? I didn't know that in Utah lately, even if Gabby's remains were found in Wyoming. This is about Utah. Paul Swinson, Crystal Turner, Kylan Schulte. Gabby mentioned to Michelle something about the energy of the places where Gabby and Brian were traveling with Utah and Wyoming. Can you elaborate on the energy there and whether there's a connection to these mysterious deaths? And whether that had an effect on Brian's actions and personality.
So this is something that when I was talking to Gabby when I was connected with Paula, and she had brought something up because I had asked her if Shanann Watts, and this will make sense, but why was I picking up on Shanann Watts with my friend that day? Why was that popping in my mind? And later that afternoon, I had seen a video with Gabby and Brian at the Great Sand Dunes National Park. Okay. Well, the Great Sand Dunes was in Colorado.
Yeah, okay.
And when I saw it, it stood out to me. I felt something. So I asked her about it and I said, is Shanann part of this in some way or whatever? And she said no. But they were showing us the connection. And so Gabby's going to elaborate a little bit now, but a lot of these national parks, they're very old energy.
Yeah.
And she says, in particular, there's something energetic that affected Brian there that is similar to Chris Watts. And not comparing their situations, but remember, she says, you have to be open. There has to be something going on in your energy to invite something like this in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that's what the comparison is that she's showing. Now she says that from that point, there was like an intensity that occurred, like a lot of fighting, a lot of arguing. Yeah. And what she says is some of these older energies, and she's showing me like, there's ceremony that's taken place in some of these grounds and burials and,
I was wondering about that, whether, skirmishes between Native American tribes, yes, ancient burial grounds, ceremonial sacrifices, dark arts, black magic, curses.
Like a lot of really heavy stuff in these beautiful, beautiful grounds.
That's amazing.
But there's, these things that have taken place. And so what she shows me is they're traveling. It's like that energy. And of course, she says, love and fear. She says, think about what she talked about with what their contract is with love and fear. And Brian connecting to that jealousy within him. She says, I was creating something that he felt he wasn't part of. And so he would get frustrated when she would go and work on this. He would get frustrated when she was doing something because it's that fear, she says, of me being something better than him and leaving him, pushing him away.
Yeah.
She says creating insecurities because insecurities were already there. And she said that energy feeds on anger. That energy creates, as she says, like a cycle.
Like negative entities, that sort of thing? Yes. What about earthbound spirits? Are there a lot of earthbound spirits that are trapped? Because that bad mojo, that can create a lot of, being trapped, even if you die of natural causes, but also can create depression that leads to suicide. And, of course, earthbound spirits could be there because they were sacrificed and or died in a Native American skirmish. So were there those affecting?
She says that Utah, so there is she's calling it like a weird vibe to Utah.
Okay.
She says beautiful. It's very beautiful, but there is a kind of a weird vibe to it. And she says that there is mysterious things that have happened there that are connected to some of these, and she's calling them like dense or darker vortexes.
Is it vortex? I was going to ask. Like Sedona has a bunch of vortices. So is it true of?
Yes, she said yes.
But dark ones?
She says yes. She's saying in areas where trauma has taken place.
Yeah.
And she says some of the places that are not as well traveled, like there's some areas that are well traveled.
Yeah.
But she's saying like hiking, going into areas that maybe are less disturbed.
Yeah.
There being some vortexes there that
Okay.
she says it's like magnets. When there's something going on, when you have something psychologically or emotionally going on, it can be an opening to attach and to kind of ramp that energy up.
Okay.
But she also says other things, like things separate from her circumstance, but other people or missing people, that also being a part of that accident.
Okay. So did the energy of these places affect mostly Brian, or did it have any effect on you as well?
She said that it had her feeling like it for her, it ramped up her frustration. So
Yeah.
she says that it created like she would fight back, like she would get upset. Sometimes it would make her more emotional. For
Yeah.
him, it made him feel, she says, scattered,
Yeah.
angry, and she says physical.
Okay. I mean, it reminds me of Arlene, my granddaughter, when she was like 8 or whatever. We took her to Sedona, and she got so amped up and just bouncing off the walls. And then when we left, her energy climbed down. So, some people are really, because there's so many vortices there. Okay, diving in, I'm going to read what's written here in the email from Paula. Diving into the relationship between Gabby and Brian: abuse, gaslighting, narcissism, codependency, etc. So, do you want to make any remarks about that?
She says, a couple of things that she wants to bring about it. She says, well, first of all, she talks about in a relationship, and she says, there are many that will hear my story, and there are many that will be able to recognize something in their own relationships or within themselves that they may not have seen before. She says that there are some relationships that are very covert, that maybe to the rest of the world they don't seem like they have anything wrong. And she says, and that can be part of the downfall of social media.
Yeah.
And she says, at the same time, social media is amazing. It's an amazing tool. But she says it's also not reality. It's not real life, meaning that we all have stuff.
Yeah.
But she said that if you're in a situation where you feel that something is wrong, she says, speak up. Speak to somebody. Don't hide it from your family. Don't allow yourself to drift away from your family. Think about if you're watching this right now and you feel segregated from your family, if you feel that you have no choices, there's always somebody that you can reach out to. She's also commenting, saying that a lot of people watched her circumstance and said, why wouldn't you leave? Why would you leave?
In the first altercation.
Says,
I was going to ask that. Why?
Yeah. She says it's not always that easy, and it's not something that really goes through your head that it's going to escalate, that it's going to turn into this. But she also says there's a lot of the gaslighting, the psychological abuse can turn it around to make you feel like it's your fault.
Yes.
And she's going back to she says, I took blame. I thought that I had something mentally wrong with me, that I was upset or I was easily frustrated. I called myself OCD because he had convinced me of that.
Yeah.
He had, and she says, it doesn't mean that it's all purposely groomed in that way, but it comes
Right.
from a sense of insecurity.
Yeah.
It comes from a place of not having confidence within themselves. And unfortunately, she says, a lot of people become trapped in these situations, and we don't always see what's seen from the outside. So
Yeah.
she says there's awareness to this, but she also says, I want to clearly say to you, to all of you, she says, my message here is not to look at how my life ended, not to look at the situation that took place and how I transitioned off the earth, but look
Right.
at the life that I had.
Yeah.
Look at the life that I live and look at the message that I continue to send out.
And we're going to talk more about that, but want to ask a couple of more questions about Brian. Of course, his insecurities and his living life through fear rather than love is made him a target to these darker energies. Now, apart from that, did Brian have some sort of true mental illness, like a personality disorder or anything like that? Or was it all these these dark energies affecting him?
She says that there is some she's talking about some enabling in his life, some entitlement.
Okay.
She's talking about narcissism, some entitlement, being enabled, about that, and there being darkness. She called it like darkness that was always there,
Yeah.
a sense of darkness that was there. And she says the best way to explain it is not always activated.
Okay. But this energy in these places activated it?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Can you share another life that most influenced your life, your recent life as Gabby Petito?
She says the first thing she says is when in Rome. When
Oh,
in
okay.
Rome. So she's in Rome. She shows herself as being an artist,
Okay.
painting. She shows herself with angelic wings on her back,
Mm.
um, like a metaphor for the person that she was in this lifetime.
Okay.
She says that she would paint people. She would do portraits of people. And she says that these connections that she would have with them would be like listening, would be like therapy.
Okay.
She says that at this day and age, at this time, we didn't have therapists that we would go to, but we would sit and have our portraits painted. She says people would come, and she's talking about people with affluent positions in the world.
And that was therapy for them. Kind of
Yeah.
like you, Michelle. I mean, is there a connection there? Because you do a lot of art that is very therapeutic for people.
Yeah.
So, and
I
you're an earth angel.
I asked her that. I asked her that this morning because I said, it's really strange. Well, not strange, I guess, but um, that's what I do. And a lot of the things that she's shown me with connecting with art and healing. And she says yes. And she says that none of this is a coincidence. She says that um, there's always something between us all that connects us.
Yeah.
And we may not have known each other in this lifetime personally, but she says there are many things, and she says many things that the angels know of how we connect.
Okay. Did you share another life with Michelle?
Yes, she said several.
Wow, interesting. What were you here to learn? Was there anything you were here to learn? I mean, you said you didn't often do that. was not about lessons in your incarnations, but this one, anything?
Yeah, she said perseverance.
Okay.
Perseverance was a big one, to persevere through many different situations,
Okay.
and to be able to see love where not everyone else would see love,
Yeah.
and to be able to persevere. She says, like seeing the good in everything, being able to see the good in people when other people would not see that good, to see the value in it, um, to see the value in things that others might throw away. She said that there was also a lesson in loneliness for her as well.
It's an earth angel thing, feeling lonely even when you're surrounded by people that love you.
She says that she was often felt alone, and she was learning that she was never alone, that she
Okay.
was never alone. And she says that she would often feel different than other people, even though she would get along with so many people.
Yeah.
And, everyone loved her. And she goes, I loved everyone else. But she says there was a sense of loneliness that I felt. And she says sometimes that was something that her and Brian in the beginning connected with.
Yeah. Do you think that you accomplished the lessons this incarnation?
She says yes. She says yes. And she says that she'll continue on with her family. She works very hard to let her family know that she's with them.
Good. What kind of signs do you want to give let them know that you're going to give them?
She says feathers.
Okay.
She says her name. Seeing her name,
Yeah.
short forms of her name,
Okay.
Initials of her name,
Like in
her
license
name,
plates and things like that, huh?
of
Signs.
anything that has her name. And she says, and of course music.
Okay.
And I'll tell you too, last night before I went to bed and I was scrolling through YouTube. This is so crazy because she's just reminding me of this right now. I totally forgot about it. I was scrolling through YouTube and I was thinking, just kind of thinking about what I was doing today and what I had going on. And I watch art channels a lot.
Yeah.
Like I like to watch them use like people that draw with tinfoil and all of these weird things. And so I was watching this one art channel and they were showing how to draw your name. And it was like with 3 pens. Anyway, it was kind of weird, but the name was Gabrielle.
Wow.
That they drew. And I forgot all about that. But
That is
yeah, so
cool.
she says her name and everything.
All right. So what do you think? You talked about it a little bit, but you want to add anything else to what you were here to teach on like your spiritual mission?
She says, like first and foremost, she says love. And she says all facets of love, but she also says connection.
Mm.
She says teaching about deepening connection.
Okay.
When she says love, it's like the word love doesn't do justice for what she's showing me, because she says that it seems so like, okay, love, yeah, we get it, it's love, we're all love.
Yeah.
But she says no, this was about really understanding what love is in the world, to be able to show that. And she says that that was something that she was working on, even though she didn't quite understand it that way in human form, but showing passion and showing love through what she was doing in building this website and building this channel. And then she says that right now she continues that very same journey, that she shows love because her parents are walking in courage because of love.
Yeah.
They are showing an example to the world and what they will continue to do. And she also says Gabby's law. Gabby's law. So there's something that's going to be
legislative
changed,
thing.
or something. There's something that's going to be changed that's going to have to do with her, because she says, and yes, she goes, if you're asking, is there justice? She goes, yes, there's justice. Yes.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to share that nobody really knows? Some quirky thing, like you like to wear two different colored socks, or any funny thing that you want to share to close? And also, Erik, if you or Michelle want to ask any final questions.
She's like doing this with her head, and she's like, I didn't hide anything.
Oh, okay, that's funny. Erik, do you want to ask any questions? Or Michelle, do you have any additional questions?
He wants to ask her if she wants to go, like, what do they call that? Not bungee jumping. What is that, Erik? Zip lining. Zip lining.
Oh, okay.
Asked her, says, you want to go zip lining?
Oh,
like, yeah, she's grabbing her helmet.
Oh, I don't think you need a helmet over there. All right. Anything else you would like to add, Gabby?
She's shrugging her shoulders up, and she's just like, thank you. Thank you. She says, Mom and Dad, she goes, I love you. I'm with you. I'm with you. I'll never not be with you.
Oh.
So, and she says, thank you.
That's beautiful. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Gabby. It was an honor to talk to such a wonderful spirit. I mean, I felt it too, even me. And anyway, I encourage everyone to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification bell so that you don't miss videos like this, and share if you can. And also check out Michelle, her healing through art, her mediumship. It's just amazing. thehealing-art.com. And I guess that's it. I love you, Michelle and Erik.
Love you,
Gabby.
Erik says love you. Gabby says love you.
Bye.
Bye.